Hey, Mike.
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, do you know you can reduce stress from a simple breath?
Why, yes, I do. As you know, I teach Tai Chi, and breath work is one of the important things that we study.
That's why Hummmm created the Shift, a minimalist necklace that helps you relax. Have you seen this?
Why, yes, I have. It's a nicely crafted necklace that is designed after a tool that the Hummmm monks of 17th century Japan used as part of their meditation practice. It essentially allows you to extend your exhale, which triggers the parasympathetic response in the body, which is actually the relaxation response. So it helps you relax.
The Shift is a beautiful necklace that helps you breathe better. Let's create a calmer world by learning to breathe better. Use our TechTime Radio code for 15% off at checkout. Our code is TechTime. To find out more, you can go to techtimeradio.com and look at our sponsors. Visit them online at www.komusodesign.com. That's www.komusodesign.com. News break. Mr. Gourday, have you heard of Prefab, helping creators launch fast? Prefab helps you launch sites, forums, and decks fast using tools you already know. Prefab is currently invite only, so sign up to get early access at prefab.app.
Prefab is a new online publishing service like Squarespace for creators and makers. We are running a creator tool giveaway, including tools like Pixelmator, Affinity Photo, and Sketch. The giveaway ends on June 26, so no purchase is necessary. Listeners can participate at prefab.app/giveaway. That's prefab.app/giveaway.
Sign up now and learn more.
Coming to you from the shores of the Pacific Northwest, keeping you up to date on technology while enjoying a little whiskey on the side, with leading-edge topics, along with special guests, to navigate technology in a segmented, stylized radio program. The information that will make you go, Pull up a seat, raise a glass with our hosts as we spend the next hour talking about technology for the common person. Welcome to TechTime Radio with Nathan Mumm.
Welcome to TechTime Radio with Nathan Mumm.
Wow,
I'm
that
your
came
host.
in like a lion.
Was that?
That came in like a lion.
The show that makes you go, Technology News of the Week. The show for the everyday common person with insightful segments on subjects weeks ahead of the mainstream media. I'm Nathan Mumm, and welcome to our show. What are you laughing about?
I don't know.
You're in a little funny mood. You're enjoying life right now, huh?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. So, welcome to our live show. We are live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch.tv, and the best place to find us is just go to techtimeradio.com and look right in the big video window there. You can click the play button and you'll watch us live as we stream. Now, we're a live show on Saturdays from 4 to 6 p.m.
Here it comes.
So if you do not, or if you're watching this
On what? When?
on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not 4 to 6, and Sunday, then you're watching a rebroadcast of our show.
I'm glad you let us know.
Okay, and the best way to find out that...
We're always glad when you let us know.
So let us know that. Yeah. You can always find out more information going to techtimeradio.com. So if you see a rebroadcast, all the information will be available online so you can see what's
right.
available.
You can go to the website and learn that it's a rebroadcast.
That's right. Or if you have questions about anything, you can go to the website. All right, so there's a lot of cool buttons there. There's the Be Our Guest. Well, it's Be Guest, our guest area. So if you click on the guests, you can see a picture of their LinkedIn profile. Mm-hmm. And then you can also go to the segment that we have them on the show. So we got a bunch of guests on there that have been on our show. So you can always go and see that. Today's episodes are going to be great because we have our 2-hour show. On the first hour, we have Nick Espinosa back from Security Fanatics. So he's already on the website with like 3 links. We had to create a special thing so we can add every single time he's on. So there's more and more links. And then for the second hour, we have James Riddle that's going to be talking about some CRISPR gene splicing.
Yeah, gene splicing.
And do we have a pill that is being developed for COVID-19 vaccination processes? So we're going to be talking about both of those subjects as our medical expert. We are a 2-hour technology show that talks about technology in a simple way without having to geek out. On the first hour, we have our Cold War Showdown with Russia versus USA. So you remember the old Cold War?
Yeah, well, I've been alive.
So we have Biden and Putin, which Nick is going to talk about, had a little what do I say, conference / come to Jesus meeting. That's when you're in trouble.
Is that what's going on?
Yeah, so they had about technology. So he's going to come on in and explain about that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have Windows 10 sneak peek. So we got some screenshots of Windows 11. Windows 11, because Windows 10, which the CEO of Microsoft said will never be replaced. You would never have to have another operating system ever.
Famous last words.
Satya Nadella, who decided that we're now going to create Windows
Karma
11.
had anything to do with that?
Well, I don't know. We already talked about that. Then finally, we have Mike's mesmerizing moment. Only after we talk about a robot that can zap those pesky weeds in your garden.
Yeah, that's one of those fun. That's a fun one.
Yeah, it's a great story, and I did a bunch of research on that, so that was pretty cool. There's a bunch of different stuff out there. In our second hour, we have letters. We talk about this week's email scams and funny phishing attempts that were sent to me. We read one already a little bit. It was pretty funny. There's two today that are probably in at least an 8 out of 10 type of funniness for phishing, so we're going to be talking about that. We have James Riddle that will be a part of our CRISPR exploration about the superbug that is invincible to all viruses. We're going to be talking about that. And then on our segment with Stories You Didn't Know, we're going to be having a segment on China and a bunch of items that they have released in the United States and what they are currently doing that people don't really talk about here in the United States. So we have some technology breakthroughs of what they're doing, too.
Johnny Cam, right?
That's right. And before we start any of our shows, it's always the most important aspect that we get to our question of the day of our loaded question. Mike, who's the last person you would ever pick up hitchhiking? No, you can't say your ex-wife.
I can't. Why not?
You can't say
because it's not allowed.
Yeah,
that's why.
That's right. Your ex-wife is not allowed on any of that answer. So somebody else that you would not want to pick up.
The person I was married to before.
No, we can't say that either.
Try again.
That doesn't work either. Who would it be?
Donald.
Oh, we were talking about this, so I thought that would trigger it. You're going to say Donald Trump, right?
Yeah.
We were just talking about him before we went on the air about some security stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick him up.
You wouldn't pick him up?
No.
No. Do you think you'd ever be out hitchhiking, though?
Who knows?
So, you think maybe? After a rally, one of his cars breaks down and he doesn't have 30,000.
I don't pick up hitchhikers anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, I don't either. You know, and that used to be the thing right in the 70s, right?
In
70s, you could go
back
across.
In the 70s, you could pick up, but nowadays, no, I wouldn't. In fact, I'm just going to erase all of what I just said and say nobody.
Nobody?
I'm not going to pick up anybody.
So you're just going to drive on by?
I'm just going to drive on by. Certain people I might drive over.
Hey, give them a one-fingered salute while you're at it.
That's right. Hopefully not.
No, I'll have. You have to be in the car for that.
Okay. All right. David will be your
David
your
will be my co-saluter.
All right, there you go. Well, now it's time to engage us. If you have a question, you go to Twitch TV /TechTime Radio. You can put that in the stream, or you can call us at 425-373-5527, 1-888-298-KKNW-5569. We have another T-shirt to give away during the second hour of our show. So if you listen all the way through to our second hour, we're going to be giving away a T-shirt, one of our gaming T-shirts. And now let's get on with our top stories in the first 5 minutes.
What's happening in the world of technology? This is our top stories in the first 5 minutes.
All right, story number one. Windows 10 to be retired in 2025 as the new OS has been leaked to the internet. Windows 11 is out there.
Apparently it sucks.
Well, so here's the thing.
Like Windows Vista.
This kills me, right? So that's what it is. Microsoft will stop supporting Windows 10 in 2025 as it prepares to unveil a major revamp of its Windows operating system. When Windows 10 was launched, Microsoft said it was intended to be the final version of an operating system forever, but on the 14th of October 2025, there will be no more updates for Home or Pro version of Windows 10.
So we're going back to paying for Windows.
Oh, yes. Microsoft had said that it represented the most significant update in the OS in the past decade. Windows 10 was released on July 2015 and dubbed Windows as a Service, which meant the software was gradually updated at no charge rather than a company releasing a new version of its OS every few years. At the time, Chief Executive Officer Satya Nadella said it marked a new era for personal computing. Developer evangelist and Microsoft employee Jerry Nixon went even further on to describe it as the last version of Windows ever.
Yeah. And now?
Well, we know that Windows looks like on a leaked build, so I've actually downloaded the leaked build that was available. I won't say where I got it, dark web, but I won't say where I got it, dark web. And so I will tell you this. There's a new startup sound.
Joy.
And there's a new logo. And
Okay.
widgets are back. You remember widgets?
I remember widgets.
So this is the feature that first came out
this like-
in Windows Vista, and we're redoing
Is
the
this like
widget from
bell
the
bottoms
start part.
coming back out?
Yeah, I
Is
don't
this
know.
the Microsoft version of bell bottoms?
Let me just tell you, the Mac OS has not changed for over 30 years.
No.
They
That's
still
'cause
have
it works.
They still have the preference on the top left. You have a menu you drop down. You have a bar at the very bottom. But somehow Microsoft thinks that every other release of the operating system, we're going to have a brand new user interface, and it's going to be better.
I know. It pisses everybody off.
It does. Why don't they just keep it the way it is?
I don't know. Are they going to bring Clippy back?
Oh, Cliffy was so great.
Yeah.
Or how about the home suite that you would never have to have anything other than this home deal, and then it was Project Microsoft Home, and you'd log into the internet, you get your calendar information. Bill Gates'
I never
ex-wife
I never used that.
was one of the creators of that, so it didn't go really well.
Yeah, it didn't go over.
No, it didn't go really well. But,
Oh.
all right.
darn it.
Okay. All right.
Can't wait.
Story number 2, though, gets even better. Lina Khan, the 32-year-old, taking on big tech as chair of the U.S. Federal Trade Commission. We have some
Lena.
Lina Khan. Did I say what did I say? Lina.
Lina.
I meant Lina
Linus?
Khan. Sorry, Lina Khan, the 32-year-old, taking on big tech as the chair of the U.S. Federal Trade Commission. We have some audio here from our reporting station.
President Biden named Lina Khan, a prominent critic of big tech, as the chairwoman of the Federal Trade Commission. It's a sign that the agency is likely to crack down even further on the industry's tech giants.
It's a very exciting appointment. And the fact that she got an overwhelmingly bipartisan confirmation from the Senate was very good news. I think this is one of the areas where Republicans and Democrats agree that we have to do important work. And I think she's going to be aggressive. And she obviously is very supportive of the recommendations that came out of the 16-month investigation of the Judiciary Committee last year.
All right. So Ms. Khan is known to not have a love for big technology companies.
Jeff, Mark, and Elon going to start sweating now?
So, as the new FTC chairman, Ms. Khan now has teeth to back up her idea. She has gone from legal activist and academic to holding perhaps the most powerful consumer protection job in the country. The commission is already in the process of suing Facebook for illegally maintaining its personal social network monopoly for the years of long course of anti-competitive conduct. It's also investigating Amazon.
Maybe that's why Jeff is going into space.
That's right. Is this good for tech? Time will tell, but big companies crush little independent companies all the time. Will things change?
Well,
I hope so.
I guess we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see what we do. All right. Story number 3, nuclear energy. Fusion plant backed by Jeff Bezos to be built in the UK. So you know what he's saying? Forget it.
He's I'm moving.
I'm moving.
I'm leaving.
I'm leaving the United States. All right. A company backed by Amazon's Jeff Bezos is set to build the largest scale nuclear fusion demonstration plant in Oxfordshire, aiming to turn the promise of fusion into commercial viable energy source. Let's play a recent press release about this new plant.
We're struggling to figure out what the future of sustainable energy looks like on our planet, as there are a lot of different directions we could go. The UK, however, made a bold move when they recently announced a huge investment in a prototype fusion power facility that could be functioning as a commercial power plant by 2040. That's pretty mind-blowing for many reasons, one of which is that fusion power isn't really a reality yet.
Right.
So this is interesting, right? So
This is science fiction stuff.
This is, right? Because this is essentially you get fusion energy based upon the idea of a star exploding, right? So the idea
that's what's going on inside a star is fusion.
Correct. And when it explodes, that's when you can capture the fusion, and that's when it's at its highest area. So we have Jeff Bezos, who is working on a new facility to be built in Culham, home of the UK's National Fusion Research Program. The commercial details have not been disclosed, but the development says to cost around $400 million.
It sounds like he and Elon are hanging out a lot.
It aims to be open and operational by 2025 with the ability to sell commercial fusion to customers by 2040.
Yeah. So we're going to have a more sustainable energy source that people can be charged with.
So be charged with, yes.
We
So
can charge them more.
We'll charge them more so that we have something we can create. So
and that, you know what, that's another monopoly that's coming.
So that's exactly. So Bezos is building a large plant.
He's
so
like,
now,
I'm getting out of the Amazon business and going into the energy business.
That's
I
right.
want to monopolize that.
because there isn't as many regulations in that right now. So if I go there, then I can have things taken care of.
If I can create a fusion reactor, I can become the god of energy.
And then Miss Khan won't be trying to break me up and causing all the grief for me. So that's what he's figuring with that. I guess so. All right.
He's going to do that from the moon.
Or that's what he said, right? And he's going to be one of the first people to be.
I'm really picking on him today, aren't I?
You are.
I don't know why.
I don't know because nobody's Facebook.
I don't usually have a problem with Jeff.
Yeah, so that was Bezos has been thrown under the bus. Beep 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 beep, back and forth. All right. Well, we're gonna
go, Jeff.
We're gonna take our first commercial break, but when we come on back, we will have our whiskey to review because we have some nice whiskey here. It's a single malt Scotch whiskey, 80 proof, but I won't tell you what it is until we come on back. And then we're going to have our Technology Insider segment with our security expert and security fanatic CIO, essentially the owner, Nick Espinosa. We have Russia versus the USA in a Cold War cyber initiative. You don't want to miss out. You like how I do all the Cold War?
Yeah, you're
Rocky
really,
IV.
You're really trying to rock that secret agent.
That's right. You remember Rocky IV? Rocky, and
with
Drago. Yeah, Ivan Drago.
How does that have anything to do with
Cold War?
Cold War.
Well, that's the only people that, you know what? When you talk about Cold War, when you say Rocky IV, people all can relate. When you just say the Cold War stuff, people don't understand that anymore. So, all right. Well, you don't want to miss that exciting interview, and definitely we will see you after this commercial break.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, what's going on?
Have you heard about 180 Consulting?
No.
I love these guys. You know how much I avoid working with copy vendors, right?
Actually, I get to hear about it all the time.
Not anymore, because guess what? The guys at 180 Consulting took over the entire process. They assessed our needs, worked directly with the vendors on my behalf, and helped us understand our option. No sales fluff, just good information so we can make the right decision.
Well, that sounds good. How do they get paid?
Their only compensation comes from a small share of the cost savings they create. They work for us, and it's a win-win.
You know, that sounds like a no-brainer.
There's two ways to reach them. You can get them at info@180-consulting.com or visit them online at www.180-consulting.com.
www.180-consulting.com.
Thank you, Mike. 180-consulting.com.
Hi, I'm Bernadette Pager, host of An Informed Life Radio. In an age when the term misinformation is used to silence criticism and debate about COVID-19, vaccines, and more, we're bringing you doctors, lawyers, and scientists to discuss the missing information about your health and medical freedom. An Informed Life Radio airs right here on KKNW every Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. We're starting a real health revolution, one conversation at a time. Join us.
Welcome back to Tech Time Radio. We just had our whiskey tasting. Mike, during the break, we got to sample our whiskey and our pick of the day during the show. Today we have chosen Lismore Single Malt Scotch Whiskey, 80 proof, about $35 a bottle. Mm-hmm. This is Scotland malt, sherry, spice, and floral aromas. The flavor is dominant with the malt gentle Scotch tasting and a mixture of 12 hand single malts.
Yes, very smooth.
Very smooth. Did you like? Now, Mr. Miller, our engineer,
he didn't like it.
He did not like it. He said this was the worst whiskey Scotch tasting.
Yeah, he wanted to
had.
pour it out.
I think he actually did.
Oh, that's alcohol.
I know. I don't know what we're gonna do with him, but this is really smooth. This got a little bite, but it's got a smooth bite.
Yeah. So, are you gonna correct yourself on the fission versus fusion thing?
So we were talking about it. How about you correct me because you like doing this, right? So what are the differences?
The difference is our current nuclear power is by pulling atoms apart, which is what you were referencing. It's by splitting atoms and it creates energy.
Correct.
A fusion reactor would take atoms and fuse them together and create energy that way, which is what the stars do. So I had it right, but I wasn't saying it right. So thank you. Right. Thank you, Twitch stream follower. We're actually getting schooled by Twitch right now.
Yeah, so we had some Twitch followers that gave us that information, and they were right. So that's what I meant to say, but it did not come out exactly the correct way. Hooked on Phonics worked for me, too, didn't it? All right, here we go.
That has nothing to do with it.
That's right. Well, now that we got our drinks out of the way, we are going to move on to our segment with our security expert, Nick Espinosa from Security Fanatics, and our Tech Time Radio security correspondent. As we get him ready for the show, let's start our next segment.
Welcome to Technology Insider. We get the information directly from the source.
All right, welcoming Nick to the show. Nick, we're excited to have you on. Now, my question today is, what are you drinking?
So I am going with my old standby right now, which is Lagavulin.
Okay.
And you can never go wrong with that. But I recently did get a new whiskey that I have yet to try, and it's one of the Bullets, the Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to try that one, and I will probably have it next time.
We're gonna.
Is it the orange label or green label?
Ooh, that's a good question. I believe it was green.
It was green. So I did not like the green. I like the orange.
See, we're gonna have
Okay.
all of our guests now send us whiskey to taste.
Oh, send us whiskey.
Yeah.
They're actually, you know what? I think the memo is, can you send us whiskey? Why am I on your
is that
shirt?
what it is?
Yeah.
Oh,
So be careful what we ask
I will
for. Right?
sample.
Okay.
I
Well,
will sample anything. So.
You know what? We got to give you this that scratch one that we had from the local Edmonds one that we had on here.
Oh, that was good.
That was pretty good.
Yeah,
that was pretty good. I'll have to send you a bottle of that, Nick. We'll
right
take
on.
care of you.
Right on.
All
Yes,
right.
And for the record, I am still using Microsoft Bob, which is what you were.
Oh, that's what I was trying to say. That's right. I wasn't
yeah.
home. It was Microsoft Bob.
Bob.
That's Melinda's. Yeah. So she was.
Yep.
She was doing that before she started dating Bill. So this is a little gossip because I used to work. I was
allowed to talk about this?
Probably not, but that's okay. So I worked as an executive support tech at Microsoft, which means I actually traveled around with anybody and did repairs for all the computers. If you had a senior title, a senior VP and above, we would support you. And that was a list of normally of about 60 to 80 people and their admins. So we supported all of them. And so I was there during the time supporting all of these executives. And Melinda was not on the list for the executives, and other people were, and she was in charge of that program. And I remember her boss, when that was released, it was like, oh, this is going to change the world. And I'm like, oh, really? You're going to have like monochrome graphics and it's going to change the world. So yes.
Wow.
There you go. I have an opinion about it. I hated that.
I
hated that.
I see that you might have some feelings.
Oh,
about that. Would you like to talk about that?
It was the
later?
worst idea. You'd like have your schedule. You like spend all this time typing in your schedule just so it could prompt you up, and then you'd have to click back into to open it. All right. Okay. All right. Well, we're done about that. All right. So we were going to ask Nick to talk about a certain subject. And
Please
you know what?
do.
And Nick said, you know what? We're going to change it. If you want me on the show, Mr. Mumm, this is what we're going to do. And I said, that's great. And I actually watched this whole video, and I said, that's way better than what I was going to ask you to be for. So I'm glad that we changed our subject here. So let's talk about it. We had Biden and Putin in a security summit. Can you break this down and explain what happened, Nick, what this was about? Let's get into some details here.
Yeah, so you might know, or a lot of your audience might know, that obviously Biden and Putin met in Geneva, Switzerland this past Wednesday, and talked about a lot of different things. But one of the core things that they actually talked about, especially President Biden, is he laid out essentially the problem that we are having, not just with state-sponsored hacking coming out of Russia, but the fact that Russia is actually essentially giving these people safe harbor, for lack of a better term, meaning cyber gangs within their country are not aggressively being gone after by Russian law enforcement or any other law enforcement. And that's obviously a problem for the United States and other countries as well. And so by virtue of that, that's essentially what they talked about. And in that, basically, President Biden laid out, or rather drew a line in the sand for the 16 critical infrastructure sectors of the United States and why they should be off limits for Russia. Unfortunately, I'm fairly certain, and I'd put money on it, that it fell on deaf ears. But that's essentially what President Biden was talking about, how the 16 critical infrastructure sectors of the United States should be off limit to hacking. And by virtue of that, we will respond in some way, shape, or form that was not clearly defined by President Biden every time one of those sectors gets hit. But that opened up a whole lot of questions. And quite frankly, I think that was a bit of a miscalculation on the Biden administration for putting that out there. But that's essentially the gist of what they were talking about.
Yeah. So what was? Do you have any idea what these 16 key points were?
Yeah, so the 16 critical infrastructure parts are, I mean, it's everything from the defense industrial base, which is basically 300,000 corporations in the United States, the nuclear infrastructure, water and wastewater infrastructure, the commercial sector, so shopping malls, sports arenas where a lot of people congregate, and everything else in between, not to mention dams and bridges, transportation. Basically, the CISA put out the 16 critical infrastructure on their website. That's the cybersecurity wing of the Department of Homeland Security to lay this out. So essentially it encompasses a massive amount of U.S. infrastructure, but also the U.S. economy as well. Essentially what he's saying is, like 85% of the entire United States is off limit, but there was no real level in that. So like the financial sector, for example, you can have a 3-person accounting firm be in the financial sector. Is that technically critical infrastructure for the United States versus Wall Street? So these are the kinds of things that arose from this that we're all puzzling over, is essentially how do you really define what is critical? Because even within these critical sectors, there's a criticality between, let's say, a small business or a massive business. If I'm moving oil from like that one oil field I own in Texas, I'm not nearly as critical as Colonial Pipeline, right? So those are the kinds of things that we don't have distinction on just yet.
All right, and there were some people in the audience. So, how did the audience that was at this event, how did they respond and act during the questions?
Well, I mean, from what I saw, and I read a lot of the analysis afterwards, it was more. It seemed to me like confusion, more than anything else. I think there were a lot of questions, that were out there, and I think that Putin played it pretty smugly. That was my interpretation of what I saw.
Isn't that kind of normal for Putin?
Okay, yes.
So he probably played his hand that he's like, hey, well, if all of a sudden you guys are coming to us complaining with your 16 items here.
Just virtual saber rattling.
Yeah, I didn't come to you, but the United States, you got to come to me in Russia and ask us to do this. He probably was bolstered and probably felt pretty proud of that type of a event that he was at, right?
Yeah, maybe he's going to take off a shirt and get up on a horse again.
Right. Well, I mean, I will say this though, that basically the Russian government tends to deny all of these things. That we're not guilty of this to begin with. But I would also say that this summit, compared to the last summit that we had with the Russians in Helsinki under President Trump, was starkly different in terms of the tone and direction that the United States took when talking about Russia as very problematic. If you recall, in I believe it was 2017 or 2018 in Helsinki, the United States' position per President Trump was a lot more friendly, to Russians over these kinds of things, to the point where, President Trump was basically saying, I'm going to take him at his word. I'm going to take Putin at his word. And that was not something that we saw this past Wednesday. So it was a much different tone in that sense.
Yeah. So what do you think happens after all this? Do you think that motivates more of the criminal gangs in Russia? Does it bolster up the American defense for cybersecurity? What do you think the outcome of this will actually end up happening to do?
Well, I think it's important to understand that Russia right now is fighting an asymmetrical cyber war, meaning we basically have more than double the population of Russia, despite their size geographically. We have vastly more infrastructure than them. And so it is very possible for the Russians or state-sponsored attackers from the Russians to hit parts of the United States while it's potentially damaging. It's not the same as we reciprocate. So Russia's essentially, their largest export is gas. They're basically a petrol state. And so if we were to hit or run a cyber attack in retaliation or escalation against them, we would do a lot more damage by simply hitting a pipeline than hitting a pipeline here. Even though we looked at the Colonial Pipeline situation, the pipeline itself wasn't hit. The billing system was, and they shut the pipeline down. But that is much less damaging to us than a reciprocal attack to Russia would be. So by virtue of that, the United States has to pick its targets. I mean, another, I'd say, concerning point was this basically didn't, what Biden was talking about, President Biden was talking about, didn't actually mention the multiple fronts that a cyber war can take. And so on top of the critical infrastructure that he was talking about, there's also surveillance of government officials. Everybody is doing that. There's also information warfare campaigns that sow information to divide electorates on platforms like Facebook and all of that. None of that was really addressed. And so that, I think that it was very hollow or narrow in scope what Biden was talking about, and I think that just the delivery was incorrect for the moment.
This sounds like a lot of it was just simply placating people that are watching. What do you think?
Yeah, see, so this is really interesting when you look at it, right? Because this is, as Nick was saying, it looks like it kind of was a misstep from Biden, right? But then Biden came out just 3 weeks earlier with the changes that he wants to do within the government. That's probably one of the best things I've seen from any president. We talked about that, right? So, I mean, he actually took some actions with some dates to say, hey, we got some unification in here. We got to come up with some security policies that we're taking care of. So I don't know if chief of staff or technology people are kind of bouncing ideas back and forth to him, and if he's getting good information from some people maybe not the greatest of information from others.
Right. Well, and to that point, I do, for the record, President Biden basically leveled an executive order that is moving the federal government towards a much tougher cyber hygiene stance for better cyber defense strategy, as well as software grading and other things. I'm not diminishing that. I think that's a good thing. And I think anybody looking at the landscape of attacks in the last year alone, not to mention, let's say, the last 5 years, says we have to do something, and now we've got a president that's moving on that in a way we just didn't have with the last administration. That's a really good thing. But the problem that we have is that there was no real understanding, and I'm not expecting understanding of exactly what the scope is for attack. It's really not possible for President Biden to go get granular on stage, with Putin, in that sense, as they are talking about this. But that's essentially what we have to have. These 16 critical infrastructure sectors comprise millions of private corporations. And so the level of criticality is a huge problem. I mean, look at the defense industrial base. It's 300,000 companies alone when you look at the contractors and subcontractors and sub-subcontractors. And that's a huge problem. Fortunately, they're also leading the way and actually correcting this problem by creating things like the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, which is going to require the industrial base to essentially get certified for good cyber hygiene practices, which is obviously a good thing. But we have a long way to go right now. And so the concern here is that strategically, if we are drawing that line in the sand and the Russians, let's say, have a sponsor, an attacker that hits the critical infrastructure again, there's no clear definition of how we're going to retaliate. And I think that's something that the Biden administration needs to do. They need to make it clear as to essentially what kind of game theory are we playing here? Is it tit for tat? I mean, there's a lot of different things that go into crafting a response for this, and leaving it this open and vague, I think, is doing a disservice to the possible, capabilities. Similar to what we had in Syria years ago under the Obama administration, when we drew a quote unquote red line, and when that line was crossed, we didn't do anything, and that really wasn't a good thing in that moment.
Correct.
That's politics.
What's that?
That's politics.
Yeah, it is politics, right?
It's the same thing that happened in World War II. And
right, but part of this is we have to base this in reality. And if all we're saying is, it's like if you have a child, don't take a cookie, and then they take the cookie, don't take another cookie, right, and they take another cookie.
That's right.
At some point, there has to be a consequence for that. And that's one of those things that because it's not clearly defined, is hitting that 5-person company that's technically, in the vertical of a critical infrastructure sector. Is that now constituting a harsh retaliation from the United States? And by virtue of that, virtually all policing is retroactive.
Yep.
Right? So if the Russians are actually, let's say, going to step it up and try to find, let's say, the Russian mafia, which we know they're pretty much in bed with, if they start policing them, it's going to be after the fact. Mm-hmm. In the same way we have that problem here. That's not unique to Russia, but as we have criminal gangs here that are taking things, we find them after the fact and then prosecute. So it's just an interesting thing that came out this past week, but I think it was a misstep.
I guess we'll find out.
We are going to find out. And the biggest thing is did we not give now more motivation to state-sponsored attacks with our 16 items here that we don't want you to attack? Probably so, right? So
I don't
But
know.
You know what? At the same time,
I mean,
it's a pretty large swath of, as Nick was saying, a software company X, and they decided to be an accounting firm for my taxes in Arlington. I mean, if they're going to go on in and break that up, and then all of a sudden they're going to take care of that, the United States is going to come back and say, okay, we're shutting down your petroleum line. Probably not the same type of deal. So those need to be kind of distinguished itself.
Well, and to that point, the United States, I mean, I literally just learned this today. I think it came out from the Associated Press today. The United States government itself is not actually helping this in the sense that they are now allowing, or they have, and just nobody knew it, but now it's breaking, that if you're a company and you get ransomed, that your ransom payment is now tax deductible.
Yep. Uh-oh. It's tax deductible, and your insurance company picks it up, and you pay a little portion of it. So it's a broken system right now. That's why everybody asks for under $1 million, right? Because everybody can write.
All of these systems are broken.
Right.
We
the
can't
ransom
get anything
notes,
right.
Yeah. The future, I promise you, the future ransom notes will say, oh, by the way, you should pay us because it's tax deductible and you have cyber insurance and all of that. So there's no downside to you getting hit beyond you lose your data.
It's going to be polite criminals now.
Yeah, it's going to be a say, hey, guess what? It's really going to cost you $29.99 on the back end for you to do the transfer.
They're going to set up a plus system.
That's right.
It's going to be ransomware plus.
Okay.
You pay us a monthly fee and we'll
take care of everything.
Take care of it.
Yeah, and it's interesting though, because when you knowing this, because I work at Elite Executive Services and we do a lot of what do I want to say? We're kind of like the A team. That's the nicest way to say it. So the A Team TV show, if you couldn't find someone to do it, then you can call us.
You have a cigar?
So I'm not Hannibal Smith, or I'm not anybody like that. Maybe I'd be Murdoch.
Mr. T.
I'd be Murdoch.
B.A. Baracus right there.
That's right.
Can I be Face?
You be Face. Oh, look at Nick is going for the good-looking guy.
Yeah, there you go.
But when you actually end up investigating, and so you can go on the dark web when somebody gets hacked, and you can ask directly most of the time to the hacking group itself, hey, can we work out a negotiation deal? Yeah. Can we get something cheaper? Can we do it? So there's a whole underground area that we work with.
It's really, I always
negotiate
find
down
this fascinating.
You do that too with your company, Nick?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
We negotiate. Yeah. I mean, the last one I negotiated, we knocked it down from it was a $5 million ransom to about $800,000.
And so what now happens, though, when you actually reach out to these hacking groups, is they say, well, we actually know that you have insurance. Yeah. Through this company. They'll say, hey, well, we know you got Travelers. We know that you got Chubbs. We know that those are companies that are out
there. Because they've stolen your data. They've copied it out. So they've got your insurance policy. And that was exactly it. They're like, we know you have insurance. We know you can pay and all of that. And there's an entire tactic to either delay or get aggressive or whatever it is. And usually we delay to make sure that we've actually excised them for the network and restore from backup. Yep. And then the calculation is really how much do you want to pay by virtue of reputation damage to you and your customers.
Correct.
And so, it's an entire calculation that we do. But yeah, they'll all work with you in that work with you, quote unquote, right?
work with you. So if you reach out to them,
it's a fascinating system that we're going to do something criminally based, and then we're going to engage in negotiations.
They're actually friendly. They're actually pretty easy to work with. Yeah. But the biggest thing is you got to make sure that you use
call a customer service line.
Yeah, you got to use ideally what's the place when you buy a house and they have there's a broker for it on the dark web that you use, where essentially they hold the money and then you wait until everything gets taken care of. An escrow, yeah. So you got to get a private escrow account to do this. Is the best way to do the negotiation, so that you pay them a little bit up front. You pay them when something's going on, and you pay the escrow company.
This is the stuff that I find fascinating. I'm not a tech wizard. I'm the human. I find this to be fascinating.
It's actually pretty simple, and if you have a good reputation, so your reputation in the dark web matters. Your username and reputation. So if you have a good reputation for paying out, so if somebody contacts and say, hey, I want to negotiate down. This is what we got. Here's who I am. Normally real is what I say. Here's my real person, who I am. You can find out information about. Here's my reputation, and they're pretty easy to work with. I'm sure Nick does the same thing. Is that correct, Nick?
Yeah. The only problem is the reinfection rates are oftentimes an issue. You've really got to make sure they're out of your system, and you've actually plugged the holes and hardened your defenses. And so many companies make that mistake where it's like, well, I paid the ransom, they sent me the decryptor, I'm good to go, and then 3 weeks later.
You got to spend the due diligence to make sure that they're not back in there. Because what they do is they may say, sure, great. Guess what? We'll give you the key. We'll give you the decryptor. You can have your data back. But we just told 5 other of our buddies that all have different hacking deals that you're vulnerable. We're not going to hack into you. But guess what? Joey over here on the side, Joey Guido, not
your buddy.
Not my buddy, but another Guido on the side is going to come on in and he'll take care of it if you're not protected. So that's the big thing too. You just got to work with Nick's company or my company. Just don't work with FireEye. That's my only one thing. That's my buddy.
There it is.
There you go. I
had
to drop a anti-FireEye. All right. Well, Nick, thank you so much for joining us. How can people find out more about you if they want to engage you in some cyber security items they need taken care of, or have you speak? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, I mean, you can obviously find me at LinkedIn, / Nick Espinosa, Twitter, Nick AESP. You can basically connect to me, hit me up, follow me, whatever that is. I'm more than happy to talk to you and have a good time. But yeah, thank you.
Subscribe on his Twitter account though, because he'll send out funny things for the weekend. Okay. So Nick will send out these funny little pictures of stuff and these little kind of like the Far Side type of jokes. So you want to do that. That's a good way to stay
every day.
Awesome.
Every day.
All right. Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Well, we're going to need to head. See, he's got wealth of information. So this was not the greatest idea for the United States government to say this is the list that we have. But
we certainly will see what happens.
We're going to see what happens.
I think this is just normal politics stuff where they have to get something and they just talk about it and they're like, yeah, wink, wink.
Here we go. Here's the list of 16.
Yeah,
this
is what we want.
Okay.
We're doing this to make everybody happy.
And we know it's not going to really work.
I know I'm simplifying it quite a bit, but,
probably the same. That's probably not simplifying. That's probably exactly what it is. All right. Well, we are Tech Time Radio. I'm your host, Nathan Mumm. We got David Brown behind the board and Mike Day here. We got a commercial break, and we'll see you right after that.
Did you know that up to 12 to 15% of Americans grind their teeth at night while they sleep? Yeah, it's called bruxism. I used to work at a sleep lab, and we used to measure that, and it leads to a lot of problems like headaches and destroys your teeth. It wears down the enamel, and it's just very hard on your mouth.
So every once in a while I'll wake up, my jaw will hurt. Do you think I'm grinding my teeth at night?
Yeah.
Well, so how do you go about protecting this then?
The number one recommended way of protecting yourself from teeth grinding is what's called a night guard, which is a custom fitted prosthetic that you put inside your mouth. It usually runs, hundreds of dollars, but I know our sponsor, Smile Brilliant, can get you custom fitted night guards for as little as $45 a piece.
So if you go to smilebrilliant.com and use TechTime Radio at checkout, you can receive 20% off your complete order. So visit smilebrilliant.com and use the TechTime Radio at checkout code.
Welcome back to Tech Time Radio. How's that whiskey taste, Mike?
Oh, it's about as good as the jokes that we tell during the break.
I'm sure glad David has the mute button on. Otherwise, we would be in trouble sometimes. All right. Okay. Well, welcome back. We're going to move right into our next segment with what we found on the web.
What we found on the web.
All right.
Is this a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday thing? If you're hearing that sound, we just said it.
That's right. I was not supposed to say that, too. Did you see me go, argh?
Yeah, you do it all the time.
I have. That's the first one I've done of segment today. So the other ones I've been... all right, okay. Here we go.
Captain Repeater.
All right. This is where we cover unique stories that our staff has searched high and low to bring you something that you have never heard of, or we just stumbled upon it on the web. See, look at that. That was
a good.
Was that a good little pun?
Yeah,
I was supposed to do it right afterwards.
Really.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about a robot that is killing weeds by zapping them with electricity. This was actually your article that you submitted.
Yeah, this is.
All right, so Tom and Dick are farming robots that work together.
There's 3 of them.
But we're going to talk about 2 to start out with.
All right.
All right. So we got Tom and Dick are farming robots that work together to kill weeds without using chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they actually use a little bit of chemicals. So they use about 5% of what the current chemicals are. So they say they don't use chemicals, but they use a little bit of the chemical to kind of do some of the zapping and different stuff that they have to make sure it doesn't grow back. So it's not 100% organic with chemicals, but it's 95% less than what the current chemical farms use, specifically over in the UK. The robots named Tom, Dick, and then Harry were developed by a small robot company to rid land of unwanted weeds with minimal use of chemicals and heavy machinery. The startup has been working on an autonomous weed killer since 2017. This April launched Tom, its first commercial robot, which is now operating on 3 UK farms. So this is, you rent this robot. You can't own them, you have to rent them.
Yeah. This is like, Silent Running. You remember that movie?
Yes,
with
I do.
Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
Yeah. So it's kind of the same type of deal.
They're gardening robots.
So the Tom robot scans about 49 acres a day. So that's pretty decent in the farming industry. Mm-hmm. Collecting data, which is then used by Dick, who is a crop care robot, to zap the weeds. So it will go on out and take a look at the soil itself. It will take a look and find a weed. It will then send that information on the plot database to the other robot, who will then come on out with electricity and zap it and then pull it.
Yeah.
So scans 49 acres. The robot, then Harry, turns to go on out there a couple days later, and it will plant seeds in the weed-free soil. Specifically important to plant something there so that the weed doesn't grow back. So when you zap the weed and then you plant something, the chances of it growing back are less than 2%. So that's the way you need to do it. Using the full system, once it's up and running, farmers could reduce the cost by 40% of their chemical usage per per year and up to 95% in the upcoming years moving forward. So they can immediately get 40% off chemical usage, which in a sense, for a 5-acre farm, the cost of 40% of the chemical usage is about $5,000 spent for that type of service. So it's about $5,000.
But what's the time efficiency for these robots?
So the time efficiency, so you're able to get 49 acres in a day plotting. And you're able to have the other robot go out and plant and pull up to 20 acres per day. So it's half the size of the scanning one, which makes sense because it's going to take time to do that. According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, 6 million metrics of pesticides are traded globally in 2018 at a value at $38 billion in the industry. The system allows farmers to wean their depleted, damaged soil off of dieted chemicals, says Ben Scott, the co-founder and CEO of Small Robot. The Small Robot says it's raised over $9.9 million in support and says the company hopes to launch fully a system by 2023. The robot zapping weeds with electricity is safe for pets, safe for animals. It's a very simple process.
Meaning
if your dog or somebody gets stuck underneath there.
If Rover goes and bites Harry and gets zapped, it's not going to hurt him.
It's going to be an electrical charge that will not kill you, but it'll probably be like an electric fence charge is what I would figure. I don't know for sure. But
don't pee on the robot. Right?
That's right. All right. It creates a current deal where essentially the roots of the plant and the soil are all pulled up after being zapped so that they're no longer going to be coming back there. The idea is to rent this out at about $500 a month. So if you look at the service for $5,000 for chemicals, $500 a month for this type of service, you're essentially going to be revenue neutral after year one to use this.
Right. Pretty cool.
Small Robot calls this per plant farming, and precise agriculture and plants accounted for will continuously be modern. The business case says that chemicals cost more money to transport and set up than it would be for a robot bearing trio to go on out and take care of your lawn. So now I just need a robot that cuts my lawn and zaps my weeds and also plants flowers, and then all my yard work will be done.
Isn't that your son?
Yeah, they've grown up. So no. So now that's back to me. You know, your sons are only good for so long, and then when they move out, then it has to go back on yourself.
I don't know. I kind of like mowing my own lawn. I don't know.
Do you? Well, it's depressing for me. So I'm going to leave on a depressing note.
You do have quite a lawn.
It is. It's a lot of hills. All right. Well, we are going to take a break for our commercial break. When we come on back, we have Mike's mesmerizing moment and our pick of the day.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, what's going on?
Hey, have you heard of Unidragon?
Yeah, that's the puzzle dude.
That's right. Guess what? They moved to Amazon.
Yeah, I know. The owl told me.
The owl told you?
Yeah, it's all about the owl.
Oh, the owl. Oh, the owl and Unidragon told you.
Yeah, we've talked about this guy before. He's the puzzle guy.
He's the puzzle guy. That's correct. They do, of course, have the owl, and the owl is available for you to now get with Prime free delivery.
Awesome.
We've made it easier for people to find the owl.
Yeah, I know. The owl told me about that, too.
The owl did? What did the owl tell you?
He told me to go on to the TechTime Radio website and /sponsors.
Wow. The owl is just telling you everything. That's correct. If you go to techtimeradio.com/sponsors, you see our sponsor right there, and it's got a link so you can immediately click and purchase Unidragon off of Amazon. Don't get fooled by fake puzzle people out there trying to sell you imitation puzzles. Go and find the brand you can trust, Unidragon.com. And again, go to techtimeradio.com/sponsors, because the owl will tell you no place better to buy it than with the TechTime Radio code.
Yeah, there's 3 sizes.
Yeah, there's 3 sizes.
Yeah, I almost spit out my whiskey.
Cool, I really like the owl.
Mike likes the owl.
Oh my God.
That's right, Mike.
Those are so silly.
Let me just tell you, Unidragon loves us. He literally plays our ads on other podcast shows. You know
That's
that?
awesome.
So
it's all about the owl.
It's all about. So they got these people talking about an owl on some like crime mystery thing.
I know.
All right.
That's awesome.
Welcome back to TechTime Radio. I'm your host, Nathan Mumm. We are enjoying our Lismore single malt Scotch whiskey, 80 proof. Maybe a little too much here as we're having too much of a great time. But now we're moving into the best segment of the day, and we call this Mike's Mesmerizing Moment.
Mr. Repeater.
This is Mike's Mesmerizing Moment, presented by StoriCoffee. Visit StoriCoffee.com.
You ever wonder why we'd have these things where the Russians versus the Americans, the Cold War, and all this other stuff? You know, there's all this stuff that's going on. Do you ever wonder why we do that?
No.
it's kind of funny when we have a group that we exist in, that group has an identity, and then we can say that the group then has the same cognitive biases that individuals have. So we have two things going on here. We have illusory superiority,
okay,
which is where I think that when I do things, I am better at it than other people. Okay, and this is the prime example here is when you're driving. Most people think they are better drivers than everybody else on the road. Okay, and then the second one is negative outgroup stereotyping, which means if you don't belong to my group is the best group, therefore you have to be worse than my group. Right. So these are some cognitive biases that we're seeing playing out all over the place. It's playing out with the racial tensions, it's playing out with the sexes, plays out with other countries, other populations, and even just between people.
Okay.
Like football players and basketball players, whatever. So we're seeing this in these things where they can use that to justify these actions. Because wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to worry about somebody trying to hack our oil lines, and it's just human nature.
Yeah, it is human nature. But I've heard that commerce does better when you have essentially like that one villain, so that you're all trying to compete against that one villain type of deal scenario. So
we have such a complex, intercomplex relationship with all of these things, right?
Okay.
So it creates that competitiveness, and it all kind of funnels down into our survival matrix, where we're doing all these things as a function of our survival brain, and it is an interesting way where we're like, okay, we're not going to be friends, but we're gonna be nice to each other to a point because we want to keep relations, and nobody wants to fight about this stuff because we know what that's going to happen.
That makes sense.
But we're going to make threats, and that's where that saber rattling stuff comes from, and it's just an interesting thing.
It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
All right.
So those are two of the main cognitive biases that are at play in these types of situations.
All right, I think now we should move on to our pick of the day.
Yeah. Looky there,
And
Mr.
now
Repeater.
our pick of the day for our whiskey tastings. Let's see what bubbles to the top.
So we are right
That's
on schedule.
three times.
We're right on schedule today, right?
That's three times you've repeated
Hey,
that.
I like hearing it so much. I say it twice. All right, so we are going to be talking about our Lismore single malt Scotch whiskey, 80 proof, $35. Mr. Miller did not like it. He thought it was the worst in the world. But I am going to give this.
That's okay. He's an individual with individual tastes. He's also young.
That's right. So I am going to absolutely give it a thumbs up.
I'm giving it a thumbs up too. It's really smooth. It's got a very smooth flavor, a very nice aroma.
Yeah, you know what it mixes really well with? Rockstar.
Okay, I wouldn't know about
so if
that.
you put a little bit, well, not that.
I know you're the Rockstar king.
So if you put a little bit of Rockstar in there and a little bit of this in there, oh man, that's like a.
What if I put?
Rockstar.
Would that be something I would put Splenda in?
Splenda in? Probably not. Probably not. All right.
How about Diet Coke?
So now is a good time to make sure that you go order your coffee from StoriCoffee. Always use the TechTime Radio code TechTime.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want a good batch of coffee, StoriCoffee, one of our sponsors for Mike's Mesmerizing Moment, is absolutely there of the day. Let's talk about your NFT, Mike. Did we get our NFT done?
We did.
What is our NFT available for?
Today it just says TechTime.
Oh, it says TechTime. All right. Now you can go and find and bid on the NFT with Ethereum credits. Mm-hmm. People are like, what the heck are you talking about? But with cryptocurrency, all you got to do is we made it really simple. Go to techtimeradio.com and go and look underneath our store, and you can actually bid on the NFT, and you can get an NFT from Mike Gourdet. If you get one of the first 4 that he created, you then get a personal meeting with Mr. Gourdet, and he'll tell you what inspired him to draw the actual.
I have a feeling we talked about that before, but I don't remember that.
Yeah, you don't remember that? Yeah, you said that was okay. You say, oh, that's great.
Okay.
That's what you always say. All right.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to anybody about what inspires me to scribble stuff on a piece of paper.
That's right. All right. These are memorable items, though. We have now been on the air for over a year.
Yes, we had our year anniversary last episode
52.
So.
And 53. And we got a couple episodes coming on up where I'm actually going to be out in wedding season.
Yeah.
So we have some guest stars that will be filling in, which will be fantastic.
Guest stars.
Party Time USA
That's
right
right.
here.
That's right, Mr. Gorday and David.
Maybe
will
we'll have David sit over
there
here
you
where
go.
I'm sitting.
There you go. All right. On our second hour, we have our letter segment reading about this week's email scams and funny phishing attempts. We have our feature piece with James Riddle, Vice President of Research and Services for Advera. James will be talking about the subjects of scientists using CRISPR to engineer a new superbug that's invincible to all viruses and some claims that we have found a pill to treat COVID-19. James has the answers we're looking for. We also had what you didn't know regarding China's technologies. I am Nathan Mumm. I enjoyed being a part of the show. We got David Brown behind the board and Microday to my left. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on TechTime Radio. We hope that you had a chance to have that moment today in technology. The fun doesn't stop there. We recommend that you go to techtimeradio.com and join our fan list for the most important aspect of staying connected and winning some really great monthly prizes. We also have a few other ways to stay connected, including subscribing to our podcast on any podcast service, from Apple to Google and everything in between. We're also on YouTube, so check us out on youtube.com/techtimeradio, all one word. We hope you enjoyed the show as much as we did making it for you. From all of us at TechTime Radio, remember, Mumm's the word. Have a safe and fantastic week.